Good morning everybody and welcome back into another episode of the Lego Legend of Zelda Custom Set Showcase Wave 8 based off the newest game in the franchise, Tears of the Kingdom, where we are going through the game piece by piece, storyboat by storybeat, and making, well, custom sets based off what I think is most likely for Lego to make. Now today we're looking at the lowest numbered in the Tears of the Kingdom set, however by no means the least, and that is Z0069 with 504 pieces. This is Airship Ambush, based off the beginning of the Rito quest line from Tears of the Kingdom. This is our first sort of way up to a dungeon. We're not quite there yet, and don't worry, that dungeon is coming. So as mentioned, this is of course Airship Ambush for ages 8 and up, with 504 pieces retailing for £44.99 Great British pounds. We have 2 figures and 3 brick-built characters, creating a scene from the Hebra Mountains using the taller £40 to £30 box, similar to the Monk Mouse Kosher box from Wave 2, but just ever so slightly bigger. As you can see, still very much on the ground here, but the main focus is of course the airship soaring ever skyward. So let's read our quick description before we open up our box, and you will see that this set reads: soar into the rising island chain in the lightest Lego Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom playset. Jump from the mysterious Zonai ruins, dodging the fearsome guarding soldier constructs before climbing into the storm using the Rito airship. Bounce on the sails and pull the oars to make your way to the storming dark, but watch out for the soaring Airship ready to knock you out of the sky. Combine with a second Z0069 to expand the chain of ships scoring ever skyward. Yeah, that last bit's not exactly a realistic description, but without any further ado, let us open up our box and we will find 5 numbered bags and 2 instruction manuals. Lots of instruction manuals this wave around. And opening up that first manual, you will see that bag 1 gives us our 3 characters, mainly the 2 constructible constructs and then the Airship. Bag 2 starts the land Zonai ruins that have obviously fallen from the sky into the snow. And bag 3 finishes that off, as well as giving us our blue bow Koblin. And then opening up our second booklet, you'll see that bag 4 gives us our Snowquill Link, an exact reprint from the 4th wave Freeing Nature set, and builds the bottom half of the boat. And then bag 5 finishes the airship here. And then that finishes off our set, which you can see all together here. Now it's a little bit of an interesting one with sort of 2 main components. I originally had planned this to make this much smaller, but I expanded the idea because the stonework is actually really pretty, as seen here. We have plenty of different patterns to take a look at, and this is obviously replicating the Rito Zonai architecture style, which is seen from the themed ruins in the Hebra Storm, and then of course on the dungeon itself. Around the back, of course, this is less appealing to look at, and that's mostly to save parts and because it's not the intended viewing angle. Specifically, of course, there's lots of piles of snow around the bottom of the ruins, making it look like specifically this slanted pillar has like collapsed into a big diff and like sort of spread up snow everywhere that you can see. You've also got this more ornate section coming out the side of this pillar. This section didn't fall, it was actually attached to the big upright pillar. You can see here we replicate some of the design using white and dark blue curved tiles, and then you've got some slopes to make it look bumpy. These are all based off source material of various different ruins found in the Hebra area in the game. And on the pillar, and that's going a diagonal in the background, you can see that it's sort of more rubbly at the bottom. You've got some blue, tan, and then dark red with flesh tones in order to represent some of the other designs seen on the various ruins. And then on the upright platform, which is the biggest flat area, and this is designed so that you could have combat on here. Combat of 2 types, which we'll talk about in a minute. You can see around on the underneath it gets progressively bigger as we get to the top, changing between dark tan and tan to make more of details, as well as having this pattern of triangles between sand green and then tan as well, to, well, again, replicate another pattern. As mentioned though, from the top you've got this big area in which to place different figures, as well as a diagonal one where you could put them sliding down or jumping up. Of course, Link can like parkour across all of them. And then you've got this third little structure at the back, which we haven't really talked about, which is holding this brown Technic piece, which is what we're going to take a look at now, because this is designed to be one of the perches found in the various monster encampments. Now, for those of you who don't know, this is based off the specific sort of area found in the big gash or the big hole in the Hebra Mountain, where there's a couple of ruins that are sort of you can climb on your way up to the top of the rising island chain. And this area is actually split between a construct sort of base, and then there's some wooden boards and a monster base. Now you can actually get the 2 to fight by pushing between them, and if you had stuff like the Koblin Battle Pack from Series 1 of the Custom Set Showcase, you could even recreate that far. However, a lot of these monster outposts, although not this one in particular, have these high posts at the top where they have a couple of palm fruits and other things, obviously not here because of the cold weather. But this one is for posing with the Aerocuda. Is my point is it's like the Aerocuda napping spot, and you can even see them like napping on it. However, here we're going to have him flying just above, which you can see just here. Using the DC minifigure superhero poser piece, you've also got some posability with the rotation of that Technic joint, and you can see that you can pose your Aerocuda sort of soaring in the air above this base, or swooping down to attack someone, or just to have him here like resting in the air. If you put it upside down, you could indeed pose him as sleeping, and I'll show you that in a minute. Here you can see from another angle he's soaring off into the sky, and then from here, let's just take a quick look at him. You can see that he's got a tailpiece using the rubber element that was introduced in the mid-2010s. It's still around, however in a new colour combination. Some pentagonal nexoseals to sort of suggest some like fleshy skin coming down his back, as well as a wedge plate on the front of the nose. We've got two bulbous antennas and then red eyes, as well as some dark orange wings, and then a couple of feet, which of course, as you can see from this position, can flap up and down and up again. A nice simplistic build, but works fairly well for what we're trying to replicate, and I think a brick built solution is definitely the right answer. We'll take a look at it close to a reference image later on. Here you can see from the understand as if he's about to flap and then fly towards you. And here you can see what it would be like as if you just rotate that Technic connector and then still stick the stud into the bottom of the Aerocuda. You can indeed make it look like he is sleeping here, hanging like a vampire bat. You do actually see them doing this in the various camps across the game. But now we're going to move into the airship of the set, and of course this is one of the mini sort of trampoline boats that leads up to the Storm and therefore the Stormwind arc. Now of course this has been turned into a set for a very specific reason that will be made very, very clear when we actually see the Stormwind arc, because these are found surrounding it, and that lies into the multiplicity of the set, where of course you can buy multiple of them to get a whole storm of these boats going around it. I know that sounds absolutely crazy, but there are die-hard fans out there that would definitely do it, and it's not the craziest multiplication marketing that Lego has ever done. But let's take a closer look up at some of those details. You can see there's plenty of space on the inside, so that if you wanted to play floating pirate ship with Link, of course, you could put him in the middle. We've also got the oars, 8 of them to be precise, on the sides, as well as, of course, the 2 main sails. Taking a look at the head, you can see it's built like a bird, and we're going to see this motif repeated across another set. I think it's fairly obvious what that set is by now. But you can see here that they're using some various different pieces at angles to create the dark orange spikes that go around the heads. Unfortunately, the head is not hollow like it is in game, but here is replicated using tiles. You've got a bit of neck definition there to try and make it look a little more curvy, and then the beak coming down on the front with a slope and tooth piece to represent that, well, the bird beak. From the front, of course, it looks rather imposing. I quite like this angle, and you can see the curvature of the underside of the hull made using some larger old boat elements that are still in production, as well as the different oars at different heights. You can see the mainsail as well as like the rigging that's surrounding it, and I do have to break some news to you guys. Unfortunately, the sail does not actually launch you. It was not a feature that was includable in the set at this scale. However, maybe I'll have an idea in the future on how to include it, as I would love to get that play feature replicated. In fact, an idea has just come to my head. I wonder. Future Octane here, coming at you from the basement with the wonderful Echo. I found a solution, and the answer was simple. It was these guys here, the Mario 2x2 Spring Bricks, which appeared in a couple of the summer sets, namely Big Spike's Cloud Top Challenge and the Fuzzy Flippers set. And you can see them here making the mast, yeah, a bit bulky, but we're all about play features, so this is the perfect sacrifice. I really can't believe I thought of it. And of course this adds a couple of other things. It still allows you to paddle with the oars, which you will see in a moment, but you also have a steering wheel, and beyond that, of course, it looks pretty much the same. But of course, the star of the show, the main feature, here you can see the sail in its upright position, and using these new spring bricks, you can see that it contracts downwards when you press a figure down on the top, and then springs up. And let's illustrate that with a figure now. So here it is in the up position. Your Link is diving down towards those sails. He hits the sails and gets launched back high into the sky. Let's do that one more time. Here he goes down, hits the bottom, and bounces straight back up. Spring Bricks really saving this set and adding a lot. Back to your originally scheduled programming. But I love this shot here, specifically with the hand-drawn snow background. Really gives the feel that it's floating off into the distance, especially when you add more than one of these sets together. And here you can see the trampoline sail on the top, although as I said, doesn't trampoline. You could still bounce them around, or again put minifigures on the inside. Again with that background, just to highlight the contrast a little bit more for you, and so you can see those tiles a little better. And then on the inside there's that space, as well as you get to see how you can sort of waggle the oars up and down. Here's an example. They're just on a small rotation there, and by pulling up and down on the little Technic piece on the inside, or just by pushing them up and down with your hands, you can make all of them move. I wonder if this is a feature we'll see on a bigger boat. Anyway, let's move into our figures, and that is starting us off with Link with the Snowball set. Now, if you're a fan of the channel, you will have seen this figure before, of course, on the Freeing Nature set, but I will remind you that that was Wave 4, and this is Wave 8, so there has been a multiple year gap since we've seen his outfit, so it's not quite as repetitious as you might think. He's here, of course, with the Avatar bow piece, or no, it doesn't look like it, so that he can actually shoot arrows from his bow. He has the same mold from last time, so this doesn't count as a new mold. Side of arm and side of leg printing, replicating all the details from the outfit. As well as a sort of more shocked expression from that wave. Next up we have the Blue Bokoblin. We also saw him in Lookout Landing, so this is a cheaper way to get this figure, although you could argue it should have been a different colour. He is representing the monster side of this like joint camp that they have down the bottom. Although I shouldn't say joint, because you can actually make them fight each other in the game. This is of course based off the Tears of the Kingdom Blue Bokoblin, and has the correct horn coming out the head, which is of course from our horn pack, which we have seen in other sets as well, where you get all of these horns in a little baggie like my Ruby pack from Wave 3, and like the Lego Marvel accessory pieces that we see across multiple different sets. And this one includes, of course, the red, blue, black, silver Bokoblin horns, the green Breath of the Wild Zalfos horns, and then the black Moblin horns from Tears of the Kingdom as well. And we'll see all of these across different sets as we go. However, this is what the pack includes. However, I also want to mention a secondary use. Similarly to how you would fuse arrows together in the game, there are a couple of brown 4-bar long elements in the set, and that allows you to make custom fused weapons for Link using these parts on the set, as they will all attach to a 4-long bar. The same can actually be said for our next characters, who horns are brick built, however could also be attached to the brick built the bars staffs, and that is of course the soldier constructs, which you can see here have the blade, which of course could be attached to a bar as well to make an axe for Link. But of course this design is very reminiscent of the Soldier 1 and Steward constructs that we've seen so far, following a very similar base pattern, using my new molded piece in the middle there with the printing of the broom symbol on, the arms similar to Doc Ock's tentacles used to represent the energy flowing through the wrists, two printing on various wedge and tile plates, and then an interesting build using a handlebar around the top to replicate sort of like the extra detailing around his head, most of which is achieved through printing. Very similar designs to Soldier Construct, so I suggest if you want a more in-depth look that you check out the Construct video we have on the channel. Next up though is Soldier Construct 3, he's also appearing. This completes our Soldier Construct lineup. You can actually see here that he is using an older sold piece in dark orange to represent the headpiece. Once again, could be removed from this figure and then fused if you wanted to create more custom weapons for Link. He's using a relatively new tile piece on the side to represent that like bigger white detailing, and then also some cheese slopes around the back to make a much bigger headpiece that I think does a fairly good job. The lower portion of the build though is almost identical, and the arms as well with the same technique. Still really proud of how these guys turned up, and you'll see all three of them later together in the video. Next up though we have our last figure, and that is the Airship. He's the third of the brick built characters. I've talked about him at length already, but he's got his white underbelly and his flame yellowish orange top. His legs and toes are replicated with the flower piece, and he's got his little nodule antenna with a recolor of the minifigure superhero poser piece. Tail doesn't have like the finials on the end, however it's pretty close and not everything can be perfect, and the wings are in dark orange to save the idea of reproducing a new cloth element. But now let's get into our final shots of combination, and once again there's no secret zone in the set. Soon, I promise, we'll come back to them. Here's the first idea. All of these will be if you bought 4 of these sets. Yes, I know, very expensive, but looks very cool. You can see a whole ring of flying ships leading ever skyward on this snowy background here. Really cool shot, really love this. And here is one of all 4 of those sets together, including the fairly repetitive base builds, which I'm sure if you were a mockist you'd be able to do something more creative with. You just have lots of extra parts, but with 4 of them on the bottom and then 4 of the boats in the sky, you get a pretty healthy like lineup of different stuff here. Pretty cool, really big fan. Also the 4 Airship in the sky look fantastic too, which is awesome. And then 4 boats. Pretty cool shot. I'd definitely be buying more than 1. Probably not 4 though. That's actually going to do it for today's Airship Ambush 0069. And of course, I'm really pleased with it. This was actually the first set I designed. Our first set was finished. It was finished significantly before everything else. Shockingly. So we went from doing Secret Cave Discovery, which is the last, to this one, which is the first. But it's a pretty cool set. Of course, I want to know what you guys think down below. Interesting to see the Snorkel tunic back, and I really love the flying boat design. But of course, it won't be complete until we see this set. Now, unfortunately, this is not the next set. We have to wait a bit. We've got some side quests to do. However, of course, we are leading towards our first major quest line, and that is, of course, well, you can guess, seeing it on the screen. And when we add those small boats to the bigger boat, I think it's going to look pretty awesome if I do say so myself. Of course, though, next time we will be doing Z072. This is the codename Bomb, with again no secret stone and no banner. Yet to see either of those reappear since the first set. And I think you can guess what this is, but we're going down the depths. But not for what you might think. I hope you look forward to coming back next week and hearing that wonderful chasm noise. And let me know your thoughts on this week's set down below. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye bye.